the hard truth. I'm gonna give it to y'all straight because this is the truth. This is the truth that I have needed to know every day of my life, y'all. So I do not say this in judgment whatsoever. But the truth is, what's good? It's your girl Gracesandra, and if we're meeting for the first time, again, my name is Gracesandra, and this channel is Out Here Trying to Survive, where I talk about all things mental health, abuse recovery, and centering Black womanhood. Let me just say, stick around to the end because there's going to be a great blooper reel because y'all, all of the things have happened. This is also a great time to say, if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Do it just because you love me, because y'all, this video is riding my nerves. Okay, let's go back to it. I'm coming back for part 2 on anxiety. Anxiety. In part 1, I talked a lot about the kind of things that happens in your body and what it is and how you can tell it's taking over, and just a few tips for how to get through that. And I'm just going to pick up where I left off. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, definitely go back and check it out. One of the last things I talked about was giving your anxiety a name. This next thing I want to talk about is something that helps you reframe your thinking to think a little bit more optimistically. A lot of times you hear people say the power of positive thinking. Just reframe your mindset. That's all you have to do, as if it's so simple, as if it just comes naturally to everyone, as if it isn't a hell of a lot of work to figure it out. When I was recovering from an abusive marriage, one of the things that I did was I went to therapy for CBT, specifically, which stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. And I was in a small group with other women who were going through various forms of trauma, and we were all trying to figure out how to use behavior modifications to really ride out the trauma and the anxiety. Today I want to talk to you about a model that a guy named Seligman created. Seligman. It's probably pronounced Seligman. So Seligman, as you can see here, I have a hard time pronouncing things because I don't know. Martin Seligman. He is a dude who has a lot of influence in the area of learned helplessness. And he learned that people who are very, very optimistic tend to have a certain few traits. So I'm going to go through the traits and what they are and how we can literally train ourselves to become more optimistic when we're handling panic and anxiety. So really, these are just great ways to live. Honestly, I've heard some of this stuff from Tim Ferriss and from other self-help gurus, but for sure, these things definitely help people when you're struggling with panic and anxiety. So the first one is permanence. People who believe in the idea of permanence believe that when bad things happen to them, it's just temporary. They tend to think that all the failures they've had are lessons and not just failures. And they tend to think that all the good things that happen to them are completely permanent. For example, in my life, recently my car broke down. It might need a new transmission, which is like a $2,000 repair. It could just need new transmission fluid. I don't know yet. I'm waiting. In the meantime, I have found myself going like this in terms of worry, trying to have permanence and believe that this is a very temporary setback. I'm gonna get my car and get back up on the road and get going, and it's not going to ruin my life. I literally, in the times that I've felt tremendously worried about my car and what would happen if I did not have a car right as school is about to start, I've literally had to just sit there and be like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's gonna work out. I just don't know. And part of that is because I'm practicing permanence, but also part of it is because I've had a lot of bad shit happen in the last 2, 3, 4 years that I've been dealing with having a suddenly abusive husband that I had no idea I was getting myself into, which by the way was 6 years ago today. Actually, today would have been our 6-year wedding anniversary, which is nuts. Let's all just praise God in heaven that I'm out of that situation. Thank you for going with me on that praise break. Welcome back, saints. Part of it is just that I've seen so many bad things happen, and I've gotten through so many bad things happen in my life that I realized that all the worrying I was doing was in some ways a waste of time, and it almost never helps me to problem solve. I really found that I problem solved best from a position of it doesn't matter what's happening, it's going to work out. So that is called permanence. The second one is pervasiveness, and I talked a little bit about this in the last one, so sorry I jumped the gun. Pervasiveness is a belief that failure happens in one area and it stays in that area. So for example, I am, for all intents and purposes, a failed blogger. I tried really hard to make blogging my living. I wanted blogging to be my living, and I just was never able to figure out, no matter how hard I tried. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm a bad mom. It just means I'm a failed blogger. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It just means I'm a failed blogger. And I've recently, and even with my writing career, because I still consider myself to be a writer, and I have one self-published book that's doing mildly well, but you know, it's not a New York Times bestseller or anything like that. I wouldn't call myself a failed writer because I'm still writing, enjoy writing, and I plan to be a New York Times bestseller. Come on now, come on somebody. As you can surmise, pervasiveness also means if you're really good at something, then you tell yourself, well, I must be good at a lot of things. Now, this is not about lying to yourself, but it's about having a perspective that's bent on optimism and not pessimism. The third one is personalization. And personalization kind of folds into all these other ones. It's basically the belief that bad circumstances and bad events are not because of bad self. So if you are in a situation, unfortunately, where your house burns down or something like that, you don't blame yourself. That's something that children tend to do. When I was a kid, actually, not our house, but our car caught on fire randomly that we know of in the morning, and somebody knocked on our door and was like, hey, did you know your car's on fire? And we were like, oh my God, no, we did not know. Thank you for waking us up and telling us. I remember as a kid thinking that it was somehow my fault. Like, I immediately went from our car's on fire, I did something wrong, even though there was nothing that I did or even could think that I did wrong. It just must have been my fault. But now that I'm an adult, when something bad happens, if my car is on fire, or for example, if my car breaks down and it just randomly broke down and now something's wrong with it, it's not because I'm a bad person. That's just life. So it's kind of about your perspective on how you see what's happening. If I'm doing really good in that area, that's probably because of good things that are happening in me. It's not becoming conceited or self-centered or narcissistic. It just means recognizing there's some good things I'm doing, and perhaps that's creating success for me. So basically, this Seligman guy created this little format called ABCD.
ABCD. What the heck is ABCD mean?
Well, actually, that's not what it's called, but those are the letters of the format, in which you take one of those letters and you decide how to respond to the situations that you're having in your life that are producing stress, anxiety, and panic or panic attacks. And what you do, assign a letter and ask a question for that letter, and that helps you to trigger optimism. Because the thing is that Seligman realized is that people know how to be negative. We tend to learn helplessness over time with a series of beliefs and things like that. And so if that's the case, he was like, hey, maybe people could learn optimism. Maybe they could self-train themselves. And I just really see how this is true in my own life, y'all. Like, I really see how when I was going through an abusive marriage, it was so big and so much a part of my life. I could not ignore it. There was no way, no how, no circumstance in which I could ignore these anxiety and panic attacks. Well, first of all, it had me ending up in the ER. Even if it weren't for that, it would have pushed me over the edge. And what I mean by that, and I'm not speaking in any hyperbole or exaggeration, but I'm pretty sure I would have killed myself. It was so out of control at points. I mentioned in the last video that when I was the most traumatized, I started involuntarily shaking. And not just like shaking, like, you know, when you see somebody on the street and they've watched a car accident and sometimes they're shaky, or I've been in car accidents and I'm shaky. But I mean, like, my head was shaking, my body was shaking, my body was involuntary shaking due to trauma, and it looked like I was having a seizure. And I just thought, something is very wrong with me. I am severely traumatized and I need help. Okay, y'all? So when I started pursuing different things to help me deal with the anxiety and panic attacks I was having that were just beyond control, ending me up in the ER, having me thinking about suicide probably every week at least. When the abuse was the most intense, the complex PTSD was the most intense, the anxiety attacks, the panic attacks, the heart palpitations, the ER visits, the involuntary shaking, looking like I was having seizures, my life going completely insane. I had to learn how to deal with it. There was no way to ignore it. For most of my life, I've dealt with some form of depression on and off, but I've been able to basically function even when things were horrific. I could basically function, but this came to a point in my life where I had to learn. I was training myself even though I didn't know I was training myself. So let me just tell you the letters that Seligman came up with.
ABCD.
A is for adversity. It's basically asking yourself, what the is happening here, what's going on, and what the what. B stands for belief. So it's basically asking yourself, what do I believe about what's happening to me? Recognizing what's truth and what's a lie. For example, when I was a little girl, if I had went through this when my car was on fire, if I had said, hey, what does Seligman say about B? Belief. What is my belief right now about what's happening that's triggering a panic attack? My belief is that I somehow telepathically made this car catch on fire and then it's my fault. If I had done this exercise, I would have said, well, Grace, that's not true. How could you have telepathically made this car catch on fire? It's not true, okay, baby girl, you're all right. The car just caught on fire and it has nothing to do with you. And at the end of the day, your beliefs are just thoughts. Thoughts are just there. Feelings are there. And the hard truth is, y'all, the hard truth, I'm gonna give it to y'all straight because this is the truth. This is the truth that I have needed to know every day of my life, y'all. So I do not say this in judgment whatsoever. But the truth is thoughts and feelings aren't necessarily facts. Boom! It's true. It's very true. And I'm only smiling because this has literally been my whole life. I'm an intensely feeling person, and I often have to remind myself, just because you feel it don't mean it's true. Just because you think it don't mean it's true. Just because it's on the internet don't mean it's true. Wait, what am I talking about? And the thing to remember is, if you're in a trauma response, if you're literally having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, if you're having a trauma response, it is very difficult to sort out what's true just on a basic thinking level. Fuck feelings. Our feelings are probably not true when we're responding just directly out of trauma. And I'm talking about minutes, days. Our feelings a lot of times are just coming from subconscious, coming from our inner child, coming from a lot of shit that's a lot of noise. Getting down to the root of what you actually believe about a situation through a thoughtful, conscious process is really helpful. C stands for consequences, and that means examining how you're behaving. What are the consequences to your behavior as a result of having this trigger or panic attack, or whatever might be happening in the high stress situation. For example, if a guy comes up behind me and my strong trigger response is to stab him in the neck, there could be some consequences from that. I'm not violent and or a murderer. I'm just giving an example of like something that I could see myself doing if I were caught off guard in a high trigger, high stress, high anxiety moment without thinking through what are the consequences if I just kill somebody who comes up behind me for scaring me. It's a crazy example. I almost feel like maybe I shouldn't even leave this in the video. D stands for disputation, and I had never heard of that word before I looked into this Seligman's method.
ABCD.
So I was like, okay, let me explain this to y'all. Disputation is basically where you take a look at what the negativity, what it's saying to you, what lies are coming to you, and you try to create a new story very intentionally by literally saying out loud to yourself or in your head. Maybe you might say something like, the truth is this is not my fault. I'm okay and I'm gonna be okay. The truth is this is not my fault. I'm okay and everything's gonna be okay. It reminds me of a prayer that my friend Marla has tattooed on her arm that I just really love. I didn't really get it 8 years ago when she got it or whenever it was, but I get it now, and I'm gonna have to put it in here. And I don't remember the quote, I don't remember who said it. I just know it's a woman who lived a long ass time ago. The quote is something like, all is well, all shall be well, all finna be well, all will always be well, and ain't all always been well. Something like that. Something like that. I know I'm close. I didn't get it before, but now I get it. She was basically repeating to herself, this is the truth, not what this present circumstance is offering me right now. And lastly, E stands for energy, and basically that's just looking at how your energy was directed in the situation. Do you feel like you handled it well? Do you feel like you handled it better than last time? Do you feel like you're in a place where you can direct your energy towards more positive thinking in a high stress moment, etc.? And if you struggle with all of those things and you just don't want to go through that list, just do ABC. You ain't got to do ABCD.
ABCD.
You ain't got to be like Kourtney Kardashian. You can see this list in the book, This Is Your Brain on Anxiety, What Happens and What Helps. And in the book, the author, is she a woman? I think it's a woman, Faith G. Harper. In the book, the author has the questions. So finally, I just want to talk about a few more things that will help you get through it. And the last time I talked about deep breaths, I really truly believe in deep breaths. As I mentioned, I've been having a lot of anxiety attacks lately, a lot of panic attacks. My body is really discombobulated like a ton lately. There's a lot of situational stuff going on in my life. I did just post about how, to my mental health vlog, about how my mom is dying, and it is kicking up quite a bit in me. My partner and I broke up a month and a half ago or so, and that is kicking up a lot of things. My body is just freaking out all the time. I have been using deep breathing quite a lot, and I wanted to just hit on that a little harder because it's so important. One thing that you can do is lay down, put something on your belly, like a pillow or a teddy bear or your cell phone. And when you deep breathe in, make sure you can see that object go up. And then when you deep breathe out, make sure you can see it go down, because if not, you're probably not breathing deep enough in order for it to really kind of count. I used to think it was so hard to do deep breathing for some reason when people would say just focus on your breath. But now that I do deep breathing, I swear I do deep breathing probably 3 or 4 times a day, where I'm consciously stopping to deep breathe, because that's how much my anxiety has been like just insane, y'all. Like, it's just been insane. And deep breathing really, really helps me. I've realized lately that when people say just focus on your, and that's what I'm gonna tell you, just focus on your, Before, when people would say just focus on your breath, I would be like, just focus on your breath. What? I listen to a lot of guided meditations as well. They're having you think of all these things while you're deep breathing, and it's kind of like you're multitasking. And at some point I was like, I just want to do this on my own without guided meditation, because I can't really focus on my breath while you're telling me to envision a purple light on my head, purple light coming in, and then I'm just so distracted. So I started just focusing on my breath, and I realized that that's enough. Maybe it's just for me, maybe it's because my anxiety is sky high lately, but my brain can only handle focusing on my breath, and it takes so much of my willpower. Like, okay, 1 2 3 in, hold, 1 2 3 4 out, 1 2 3 4. Or if I use those prayer mantras, like I said, like in with the good, out with the bad. Well, that's not a prayer mantra, that's actually from Dumb and Dumber, which is one of my favorite movies.
Don't worry, I know CPR.
I'll get the pills.
Out with the battery. Out with the gun. Out with the battery.
But the prayer mantra, as I said, was Abba Father, I am yours. In, Abba Father, out, I am yours. If I do that, I'm okay. But if I'm doing counts, like breathe in for 3 or 4, hold and count for 3 or 4, and then release for 3 or 4, that's all my brain can handle, apparently. I will be just focused on that, and apparently that's just what meditation is literally sitting there, focusing on your breath. It's very difficult for me to get distracted if I'm truly focusing. I don't know why the hold is there. I'd like to know the science behind why the hold is there. But if you really do try to breathe in for 4 counts, then hold for 4 counts, and then release for 4 counts, it does take practice.
We in here talking about practice. Listen, we talking about practice. My
body is like trying to do all sorts of silly shit and yawn, and all I'm trying to say is it helps, y'all. Deep breathing is an incredible tool, and it also is meditative. Meditation is another thing that people will tell you over and over again. If you really want to get free from panic and anxiety attacks, you have to start meditating. You don't need to sit in a robe and go to India, okay?
Okay, simply empty your mind. Breathe. What am I going to do when this year is over? Where am I going to live? Oh, maybe Chicago. Oh my God, I can build a meditation room. No, stop thinking. Why is this so hard? Oh my God, kill me.
So when you meditate, it releases dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. Those are all things that are released, y'all, when you have sex, and also when you have a baby. There's just something beautiful about it. Not only that, it's free. Not only that, you can do it anywhere. Not only that, you can practice. Not only you can prescribe yourself like a doctor giving you a prescription as much as you need. You can do it for 1 minute. I just heard this on a podcast. I don't remember which one, but I'll put it here. I heard a podcast all about meditation, and the guy literally said if you meditate for 1 minute, y'all, 1 minute a day, it gives you health benefits. I don't remember all of what he said, but he said there was the science in it. I just believe him, okay? He had the quotes, he had all this stuff. So y'all, there's no excuse why you can't and shouldn't, at minimum, try to meditate for 1 minute a day, particularly if you're having so many problems with stress and anxiety. You just need to, okay? You just need to, sis. I'm not gonna go into how to meditate or what to do to meditate. Everybody's journey is very different. All I'll say is that I started my meditation journey using apps. I started with Headspace. I didn't love it. I thought it was kind of boring. And then I moved on to Omvana. Omvana, O-M-V-A-N-A, is an app that has access to several different kinds of meditation, several different people leading it, several different guided ways to do it. I have a mental health folder in my phone. Another app I use is called Liberate. Liberate is made by people of color for people of color to deal with meditations of people of color. The great thing is that Liberate, this is not sponsored by the way, although I should pitch them, but Liberate has a pay what you can. They have like a higher price. I think their higher price plan is maybe like $7.99 a month. But they also have a pay what you can if you can't afford it and you need help, but you still really need to access the ability to meditate in a safe way with your people group, by your people group. So I really appreciate that. But then, as I've mentioned lately, is that lately I've been just liking to do it on my own. And for doing it on my own, it's literally nothing special. I'm just sitting there focusing on my breathing. Or I lay down, or I do it in the morning, or in the middle of the night if I have a panic attack in the middle of the night for no reason. Or when I get up in the morning, or if I'm on my desk at work, or if someone's talking to me at work and they're stressing me the hell out, I will literally just sit there and start deep breathing and trying to meditate. I just do that anywhere, anyhow, and you can watch literally any other YouTube video about how to meditate on your own without guides. But I do suggest starting off with guides if you've never done it before. I also have something that I've been liking to use for like morning walks or while I'm doing my makeup. So on the podcast app, which I love, I'm not sure if this comes with the podcast app or if this is its own individual. You know how Spotify has their own special programs, like Hulu has like Hulu Original. So I don't know if this is a podcast app original or not, but it's called the Daily Meditation Podcast. It gives you a daily meditation that's usually about 9 to 10 minutes. So I'll just listen to it like while I'm taking a bath or a shower, while I'm doing my makeup, while I'm doing my hair before I go to work. And every day is a different one. I love it. I love it. It adds just a little bit of variety to my meditation, and it still doesn't mean that I don't need my own personal meditation time. But please do search how to meditate on YouTube and you'll find loads of other teachers besides myself. The next thing is hugs.
How about a hug?
If you can, try to get 8 to 12 hugs per day. That is not always easy for all of us. One thing my counselor taught me is that if you hug yourself, literally go like this and rub and hug yourself. This is so sad, but your body or your brain that processes hugs doesn't know that it's coming from you. It just thinks it's coming from someone else and you get the same benefits. I don't know why that just strikes me as so sad, but if you need some loving and some touching, hugs are a way. And if you don't have anyone around you to hug you and don't have children or don't have a partner or parents who are safe, for now start with this, but work up to having a friend that you can eventually hug without weirdness. Actually, you know, holding this just this time, I do feel like my body just calmed down just a little bit. So your brain doesn't know that it's you. Like, this is actually calming me right now. It's funny because my therapist told me this, and this is not something I've had to do because I typically have people around me and I have 3 kids, which I routinely get hugs from, but this is nice. I love you, Grace. I love you too. Another thing to deal with anxiety is, of course, get yourself outside, honey. Get yourself outside. Even if it's cold, even if it's hot, just do it. Just do it. The sun matters. All suns matter. Okay. Finally, to wrap up this series on anxiety, I just want to say that I'm a person who lives with anxiety. I am, like I said earlier, on vitamin Z, which is my way of saying Zoloft. Some people use to treat anxiety, which I started taking to treat depression. I do think it treats my anxiety as well. But I am a person living with anxiety, and I'm a person who continuously tries to find ways to manage it and to help other people figure out ways to manage it. I am in no way absolved of my anxiety, and I've also said in other videos, I still really struggle with complex PTSD symptoms, and I'm really trying very hard to get through it, and it's been rough. And there's ways that it's made me a worse person I'm trying to recover from, and there's ways that I think anxiety makes me a worse parent. But because I have permanence, I'm realizing that it's not permanent that my parenting is struggling, and it does not make me a bad person, okay? So anyway, living with anxiety. This goes without saying, but y'all, practice your self-care. It's funny in some ways, and some ways ironical, and yes, that is a word, because as a person who grew up in a very high trauma childhood environment, I did not learn how to practice self-care. Nobody taught me how to practice self-care. A lot of us, even without trauma, have not been taught to practice or value self-care. But it was to the point where I had to tell myself, like, today, you're gonna be a big girl, and you're gonna brush your teeth, and floss, and shower, and clean, and cook, because those are legitimate forms of self-care. So I have struggled with this. It's so simple, but I wanted to just add it in there because sometimes when, for example, I was going through the worst of the worst of the worst while I was in an abusive marriage and I was so deeply traumatized, I would have to remind myself to eat, drink, shower. I had a hard time finding the will to live, let alone self-care. So I'm throwing it on the list just in case you need to be reminded. Obviously, talk about it, y'all. Get a therapist, have a friend. If you need someone, I am a trauma-informed life coach, so you can look me up in my description box. I have a link for book a discovery call. Give me a call. We can talk for a half an hour and 45 minutes and see if I'm someone you would like to talk to. I am not a licensed therapist, psychotherapist, psychiatrist, or whatever, but I have been trained in trauma-informed life coaching coaching, and I love being able to talk to people about the things that I've experienced and help people with what I myself have went through and the things that I have learned and what's worked for me. But more than that, coaching is about asking great questions and helping you through your answers see what you need to do with your life. So it's not so much about giving advice, it's about listening and asking great questions. So if you're looking for that, go ahead and book a discovery call. Please don't hesitate to ask for help from me or anyone. Also, if you want to write me an email, I try to respond to all my emails. I'm not great at it, y'all. I'm not great at it. I've never been great at it, and I've never claimed to be great at it, but my email address is grace@outheretryingtosurvive.com. Go ahead and email me and I will try to get back with you as soon as I can. But even if it's not me, ask other people for help. A lot of people say that creating something is a way to help yourself through panic attacks, anxiety, and high stress. First, of course, we want to sit with it. Like I said, I think in the first video, we want to acknowledge that it's here. We want to examine what we're thinking about it and believing about it. We want to try to deep breathe. This is a really, really big one. This one is hard to say, but don't avoid the anxiety. Just commit to yourself to work through it, even if you give yourself just 5 minutes, because 5 minutes, even just 5 minutes, will help you and help your body to face whatever it was that triggered you, to know that you can handle it. It will give you confidence for later, that you didn't just avoid, that you actually sat and worked through it, that you looked at your coping cards, that you repeated your affirmations, that you took some deep breaths. So it'll give you confidence for the next time, and that muscle, that resilience muscle, will be building up in you. Another alternative to the ice thing is a rubber band. I've heard this one a lot. It's something I've never done just because I don't really like pain like that. Some people have suggested like putting a rubber band on your wrist and just snapping yourself, because it disrupts the signal in your brain that's telling you like, oh my god, there's a bear, and it's stopping like, wait, what the hell was that on my wrist? Like, hold on a second. So it's the same thing what the ice does. When you take ice in your hands and you literally squeeze it, especially in both hands, your body, it stops whatever it's doing. It's like, what is going on right now with your hands and these ice cubes? Like what? It really disrupts the neopinephrine, whatever that's called, and the cortisol. It really interrupts those systems. Another thing that we can do is create something. The best thing to do is create art about what you're thinking and feeling. So when I first started my YouTube channel, do y'all know that I started my YouTube channel in October of 2019? That is when I was in the worst trauma, the worst pain, just the worst fuckery ever. It was such a painful time. My body was fucked up from trauma. I couldn't go a second. Not even, I was unable to throughout the day go at any point in the day not feeling completely filled up on cortisol and neopinephrine, or however you say that fucking word. I could not manage it at all. And I decided to start a YouTube channel because I realized when I started editing videos, all of my attention and focus had to be on editing. I couldn't multitask, I couldn't listen to anything else. And I found myself smiling while I was editing, and I was like, I wonder why that is. Like, I was just so entertained with whatever it is I was saying. And I realized I was creating art, like some form of art, and that it was really helping me. It was kind of meditative in a way to be in that much pain and have to just focus outwards on editing and something creative. And it really helped me. And that's in part why I started my YouTube channel almost 2 years ago. And finally, this is something my friend Ani reminds me a lot, is that when you have anxiety, you do have some rights in terms of getting help, in terms of taking time off work, in terms of qualifying for the FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, in terms of making your employers providing accommodations. You do have to have your condition documented, but that's why I suggest going to a therapist. Basically, the point is you can't really get fired for saying I have anxiety and it's so bad that I need these accommodations. So just know your rights is all I'm saying. The thing I want you to remember from all of this is why. From the first video to this part 2, asking yourself why almost at every point of this entire journey is really helpful, because it almost always gets to the bottom of what your body needs to calm down. Because like I said in the first video, your brain and your body really wants to figure out what's going on and why it's going on and what it can do to help you. And anxiety is just like the spastic big brother, like, how can I help? Oh my god, it's so fucking bad. And you just don't need all of that when you stub your toe. Or even if it's a big situation, you still don't need somebody screaming and flailing their arms and acting a whole ass hot ass mess. What you really need is a calm, balanced perspective. So just keep that in mind. Keep that why question in mind, as well as everything else I've said. The last thing I want to say is something I've learned from Brené Brown over and over again, and that is that shame is not helpful.
Shame is the gremlin who says, never good enough, and if you can talk it out of that one, wrong, who do you think you are? Shame is I am bad, guilt is I did something bad. Shame is highly, highly correlated with addiction, depression, violence, aggression, bullying, suicide, eating disorders.
So please do not ever shame yourself for being an anxious person. Anxiety is a really hard thing to get through. Please do not ever get mad at yourself or say negative things to yourself or beat yourself up about being a person who is anxious or who has anxiety attacks or who has these panic attacks, or you can't sleep or you can't focus or you can't function or you need this accommodation at work or whatever the case may be. Don't shame yourself. If Brene said anything, if she ever said anything, that woman has said that shame does not help you. It does not help us. It does not help us. It's not going to help our shame get better. I'm sorry, it's not going to help our anxiety to get better, to shame us. Just realize that it's part of life, and it is, again, your body saying, I'm going to fight for you. You're worth fighting for. I want you to survive.
I need you to survive. I'm with you. I'm there for you. I need you. I want you to survive.
I think I might have just got all the words wrong to that song. The hope is that if we practice these skills, we can get better and we can get through it. You know, for myself, sorry I keep playing with my hair. I'm just so hot because I can't have the fan on because it messes with the microphone. But anyway, I have realized in my own journey that I'm so much better off now than I was even in the fall of 2019 when I started this YouTube channel. I was in such a fucked up place that I really can't even articulate it to y'all. Where I look at where I'm at now, it's like, yeah, I'm still having anxiety, but I'm also practicing all of my skills almost all the time without prompts. And yes, I still do research, I still do read books, I still try to figure stuff out, especially if there's something very situational. For example, my mom dying my mom being in the process of dying has created a lot of things that have kicked up my anxiety, like I mentioned, and so I have had to focus on that. So I'm focusing on that in therapy, and I'm reading this book, which I will link below, because I have a big gaping mother wound, particularly from being raised by a woman. My mother, growing up all of my life, has been a paranoid schizophrenic, and it got increasingly bad over the course of my time living with her from birth to 18. Actually, I lived with her until I was 21, I believe. So from birth to 21, that became increasingly bad. So that is producing situational anxiety, if you will. And so I'm reading that book and I'm trying to figure out how to get through this particular form of pain that is producing anxiety, not depression, which is really weird for me and different. But I'm not gonna work that out with you. I'm gonna go see my therapist because honestly I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's producing anxiety, so whatever. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, y'all. Please do not forget, if you would like to hear from me about once a month, not more, usually sometimes less, I have a newsletter called Gabbing with Grace, Notes on Surviving and Thriving, and it's just basically centered on all the kind of things that I make videos about: abuse recovery, mental health, and centered on Black womanhood. I also update when merch is happening. I have a course coming at some point that I would like to do about bravery and resilience and getting through trauma. You know, occasionally books and stuff like that, but it's more than just announcements. It's just a place where we can connect and you can write directly back to me, and I will definitely do better at responding to those emails. So sign up for that. That is in my description box, how to sign up for my newsletter. I just want y'all to know I believe in you. I know that if I can get through this stuff, you can as well. If you haven't yet, buy my book. Usually I do like an image, but I decided to display my books on my new YouTube recording space. This is my book, Grace Actually, Memoirish Musings of Faith, Love, Loss, and Black Womanhood. This is a compilation of things I've written that people mostly loved in the last 10 years when I used to be a blogger, a failed blogger, but not a failed person. People seem to like it. I have a lot of great reviews, which I'm proud of. And that is permanent because, you know, I'm a good person and success comes to me. Let me stop. Anyway, thanks for watching, y'all. Bye. And please enjoy these bloopers. Because you know they come in here and they fuck shit up. So no. Fan. This is funny because I literally just said to myself, be careful because you don't want to break your ring light or anything because you ain't got the money to replace all this shit. And look. Hey y'all. First time recording. share some of my own stories. Today, I am talking about part 2 on anxiety. In part 1, I talked a lot about what it is and how to get a handle on it. Well, what did I talk about in part 1? I think my cats are trying to get in. No! Like a Pavlov. Oh my god, my battery is dying already. What the fuck? Oh, this is getting off to a bad start. Jesus help me. My battery's dying already. I felt like I was prepared, and now I realize I'm not. Because when my battery dies, I have to take the camera off the thing. I had just got it all set up so that it wasn't shaky, so that it was centered. I have to remove it from the easel, and then I have to remove the little bottom part, the boot part, so that I can take the battery out and put in a new battery, which thank God I have one charged. I feel like this should just be a video in itself, just me fucking shit up. Just like a watch Grace fuck shit up video. Ah! Long-term anxiety and panic. Oh shit! I just realized my fan is still on. God damn it. Y'all, this video, I'm not even. I cannot. Now I have to film all of that again. Son of a bitch. Y'all, this is so much swearing. I'm sorry. So sorry. If you're new here, I'm happy to meet you. My name is GraceSandra, and please subscribe. Oh boy. If we're meeting for the first time, please subscribe. My name is GraceSandra, and again, this channel is out here. If we're meeting for the first time, again, my name is GraceSandra, and talk about all things abuse recovery, mental health. What do I talk about? I don't know. I've realized that if you really, okay, new battery. I feel like this is a good time to say, hey, are you subscribed? Go ahead and subscribe. And please hit the like button because I love you. That's why. Okay, back to your regular scheduled program. So, for the first time ever, I recorded something in my new YouTube space, which I just realized I forgot the little things that were up here because my cats keep trying to knock them down. But I recorded it with my new t-shirt in my new space. I just got done. I have the funniest bloopers on this video, y'all. During the course of the video, my ring light fell over, my fan fell over, my camera fell over, my battery died, the cats came in fucking with stuff. Something else bad happened. I don't even know. So many things happened that I got on film. I can't wait. I don't usually have bloopers always, but I'm definitely gonna have one for this video. Anyway, I just cut this t-shirt. So one of these, this is the red, just basic tee that I just cut because I just thought, oh, that would be cuter as a slouch. But yeah, coming soon, another merch. I know I'm on commercials today. Sorry, y'all. Bye. Bye. I'm done. Do what I want to do. Especially the hold after getting my battery done and also having my fan be on and having to start over. Anyway.
Hours later.
I'm getting so drained. I'm so tired. I really should have had coffee before I started this. OMG. Wait, what? Oh, his friend died. That's sad. Oh, well. Oh my god. I can't believe he said that shit. Okay, anyway. Okay, I'm just tired, and now because I'm tired, I'm running out of energy. But I'm going to try to finish with high energy. Y'all fucking deserve it. Oxytocin and endorphins.